If you pay for gigabit internet, but your wired test stops near 94 megabits per second, do not order Cat8 yet. Because 94 megabits per second is not just a disappointing speed test, it is a clue. You could replace your cable with Cat6, Cat7, even Cat8, and still get exactly the same speed. The real bottleneck might be a 100 megabit port, one damaged wire pair, or a bad connector. And surprisingly, part of the answer may already be printed on the cable itself. By the end, you will have a 60-second audit that tells you whether to keep the cable, replace one cord, or plan a wiring upgrade without paying for speed your hardware cannot use. Think of the jacket print as the cable's passport. A line such as Cat6, unshielded UTP, 24 AWG, and CMR contains 4 answers: performance, shielding, conductor thickness, and rated route. Those answers matter more than jacket color or gaming language. A premium-looking cable can still be wrong for the port, distance, power load, or route. Most people read only the biggest category number. That is how they buy the wrong cable. So before we even talk about Cat5, Cat6, or Cat8, there's one thing you should check first. Start with the negotiated link speed, not the category on the jacket. A result near 94 Mbps usually means the link negotiated at 100 megabits instead of 1 gigabit. Check the negotiated speed in your computer, router, or device settings. If it says 100 Mbps, don't assume you need a better cable yet. If it says 100 Mbps, check 4 things. First, inspect both ports. Some older or low-cost devices still use 10 or 100 megabit Ethernet. A faster cable cannot create a gigabit port. Second, check the pairs. 10100 base TX uses 2. 1000 base T uses all 4. One damaged conductor or bad termination can force a fallback to 100 megabits. Third, look for kinks, crushing, worn contacts, and loose terminations. Fourth, confirm that the port uses automatic negotiation. Then run an A/B test. Keep the same devices and ports, but replace the suspect cable with a short, verified Cat5e or Cat6 cord. If the control reaches 1 gigabit while the suspect stays at 100 megabits, the cable path is the bottleneck. If both stay at 100 megabits, check the ports and settings. That one test can save you from buying a much more expensive cable that fixes absolutely nothing. If the electronics support only 100 megabits, a faster cable changes nothing. If gigabit ports fall back because of damage or a bad termination, repair or replace that link. Category cannot substitute for diagnosis. Test across your local network when possible. ISP limits, Wi-Fi, remote servers, and congestion can hide the cable's behavior. Link speed and a large local transfer provide cleaner evidence. Once the link itself checks out, the category number finally becomes useful. And this is where the numbers on the box start to get misleading. Bigger does not always mean better for your network. Cat5 is the retired veteran. It's obsolete for new installations, but here's the surprising part. Old Cat5 does not automatically mean you're stuck at 100 megabits. Qualifying 4-pair Cat5 can support gigabit Ethernet. The problem is uncertainty. Keep it only if it negotiates at 1 gigabit and completes a local transfer of several gigabytes without disconnecting or falling back. Verdict: measure existing Cat5. Do not choose it for new wiring. Cat5e is the proven gigabit baseline. A standards-compliant Cat5e channel supports gigabit Ethernet to 100 meters. It can also carry 2.5G base T and, on qualifying channels, 5G base T. For a short, stable gigabit link, Cat5e may already be enough. A higher category cannot bypass slower ports, storage, servers, or your internet plan. If verified Cat5e already holds 1 gigabit without errors, Cat8 will not make a 1 gigabit download finish 8 times faster. Verdict: for an existing stable gigabit link, Cat5e is a cable you can keep. Cat6 is the home network sweet spot. It's specified to 250 MHz, supports gigabit across 100 meters, and provides more margin for shorter 10 gigabit links. It can also support 10 gigabit Ethernet over shorter distances, which is one reason it makes sense as a practical step up for home networks. Some Cat6 uses a cross-shaped separator, but that plastic is not proof. Verified performance is. Confirm the category, conductor material, length, manufacturer, and certification. Those details matter more than a dramatic connector shell. Verdict: for a new ordinary router-to-device patch cord, verified copper Cat6 is the sensible default. For most people watching this video, that may already be the answer. You probably don't need to keep climbing the category ladder. Cat6a is full-length 10 gigabit insurance. It is specified to 500 MHz and handles 10G base T across 100 meters. Many Cat6a products are thicker and less flexible than Cat6. Use it for permanent 10 gigabit wiring or walls that are expensive to reopen, not a short link to a 1 gigabit television. Verdict: Cat6a is a planned infrastructure choice, not a reflex purchase. After Cat6a, the number on the box stops being a simple upgrade ladder. This is where buying the cable with the biggest number can actually make the least sense. Cat7 is a standards translation problem. ISO and IEC use Category 7 components in Class F channels. TIA does not recognize Category 7, and genuine Class F systems use fully shielded construction with connectors such as GG45 or Terra. So seeing Cat7 in a marketplace title is not enough. You need to know what standard the actual product meets and whether your hardware can use anything beyond Cat6a in the first place. This is why a familiar RJ45-shaped plug with Cat7 printed beside it deserves scrutiny. The question is not whether it can carry Ethernet. The question is whether the complete product matches the standard implied by the label. Verdict: treat consumer Cat7 as a product you should verify first, not an automatic upgrade. Cat8 is the data center specialist. This official, fully shielded 2 GHz category targets 25 and 40 gigabit data center links. Its limits are 24 meters permanent and 30 meters per channel. With 1 gigabit ports, Cat8 still runs at 1 gigabit. Its specialized design remains unused in most homes. So yes, Cat8 has the biggest number here. No, that does not make your Netflix load 8 times faster. Verdict: unless you can name the 25 or 40 gigabit hardware at both ends, leave Cat8 in the data center. So category is only the first line of the cable's passport. The next clues can matter just as much. The category number is not the only trap. Cable shape creates another one. A flat cable is a shape, not a verdict. Some flat cords are verified, others merely print ambitious claims. Shape alone proves nothing. A verified flat cord can handle a short, visible run. For long runs, PoE, noise, or permanent installation, choose round cable that meets the standard. Its listing must still match the route. Easy routing does not guarantee performance. Under a rug, a flat cable can be crushed or damaged. Use a verified product and a sensible path. Now move from the shape you can see to the conductor carrying both data and power. CCA is the cheap conductor with a resistance penalty. Copper-clad aluminum has higher resistance than copper. The penalty grows with distance and PoE. That matters because power over Ethernet sends electrical power through the same conductors carrying data. Extra resistance means more voltage drop and heat, especially in longer runs or cable bundles. Avoid products marked CCA, Cu-clad Al, or copper-clad aluminum. Choose traceable, verified copper cable. UL printed on the jacket is not enough. Check the package certification and its product IQ record. OFC describes material. It does not prove category compliance. Then comes one of the most confusing numbers printed on a cable. AWG is the thickness clue, and it works backward. American wire gauge works backward. 23 AWG is thicker than 24, 26, or 28. Thin 28 AWG cords can be perfectly valid, but thinner conductors generally become less attractive as distance and power demand increase. A thin cord can suit a short desktop run. Long channels and higher power PoE favor thicker conductors. Verdict: choose gauge by length and power, not by internet folklore. Wire thickness changes electrical resistance. Shielding changes the noise strategy. And once again, more does not automatically mean better. Shielding is a system, not a sticker. Unshielded UTP has no shield. FUTP adds an overall foil shield. SFTP adds a braided shield plus foil around each pair. For most homes, unshielded UTP is simpler, more flexible, and sufficient. Shielded cable is not automatically harmful, but one shielded cord does not create a shielded system. That requires continuity, compatible hardware, and correct bonding. In a normal home, the best first move is usually simple separation from power cables and noisy equipment. Shielding becomes more relevant around industrial machinery, dense cable bundles, or other documented interference sources. Verdict: use unshielded UTP for an ordinary home desk. Choose shielding only when you have a real interference problem or a complete shielded design. One final group of letters does not describe speed at all. CM, CMR, and CMP are route safety labels. In the United States, CM is general purpose, CMR is for risers, and CMP is for plenum spaces. Match the route and local code. Category describes performance, not permission to use a cable in every space. And now you can finally read that passport from beginning to end. Now the entire jacket line becomes readable. Here is the 60-second audit. First, check link speed. At 100 megabits, inspect ports, pairs, terminations, and settings. Second, match category to the job. Keep stable Cat5e or Cat6. Buy Cat6 for new patching and plan Cat6a for full-length 10 gigabit. Third, use unshielded UTP as the home default. Avoid CCA and match gauge to length and PoE. Fourth, verify the manufacturer, package certification, performance claim, and listing record. Do not treat a marketplace title as test evidence. Match the jacket, package, and certification record to the exact product you are buying. Fifth, match CM, CMR, or CMP to the route. That produces 3 possible answers. Keep it. The link holds the required speed through a local transfer of several gigabytes. Replace one cord. The ports are fast enough, but the cable path fails the A/B test. Plan the wiring. You need permanent 10 gigabit, higher power PoE, or a complete shielded system. And this is why most home users do not need an expensive ultra-premium cable just to connect a 1 gigabit PC to a router. Price does not prove performance, and a bigger category number cannot make a slower port faster. Sometimes the correct upgrade is no upgrade at all. The jacket is not a speed spell. Your network is only as fast as the slowest meaningful part of the path. So, if you're stuck at 94 megabits, don't start by buying Cat8. Start by finding out why the link is negotiating at 100. Read the cable's passport in order: category, shielding, gauge and conductor, then safety rating. That process protects you from both genuinely bad cable and expensive specifications your network cannot use. If this helped you audit your setup, subscribe for more practical tech explanations. Then check the cable behind your desk and tell me two things in the comments: what category is printed on it and what link speed is it actually negotiating?